I'm Ashley, and this is my speech on academic pressure affecting students' health. As college students, how often do we find ourselves stressing out about everything and anything? We stress about so many things, but most of us can trace our stress back to academic pressure. Slide. It is pretty obvious that there's a correlation between academics and stress, but how many students realize it can affect their health? I interviewed 3 full-time students, seen on this slide. Chancellor Parton was my first interview. He's a pre-med engineering student at YSU. He said he feels his course load has caused him a lot of stress, and he can feel the toll it is taking on him. The toll is so large that he is deciding to take a year off. My second interview was with Taryn Kerfoot, who double majors in dance and exercise and minors in biological sciences at YSU. She also works 2 jobs. So as you can imagine, she also said she can see the toll stress has been taking on her. Coincidentally, she is also debating on taking next year off. My third interview was with Kaylin Jones, an education major at Slippery Rock who works 1 job. She said her course load does not feel too heavy, but she does get stressed easier. She did not realize that stress could affect her health seriously. From the interviews, I concluded that the amount of stress caused from school can depend on the course loads, but either way, stress is apparent. Slide. I personally have felt a large effect from academic pressure. I feel that my health has been altered by stress. I find myself very anxious and tired a lot of the time. I know I'm not alone in this struggle. Today, I plan to convince you that stressing over academics can affect your health, but there are ways to cope with it. According to an article by Betty Burrows, stress can come from a variety of sources. You can't avoid stress, and most of the time, it can be harmful to you. Slide. We first experience academic pressure usually in high school. The pressure to graduate, get good grades, and get into college can feel overwhelming. Slide. Unfortunately, the pressure and stress students receive from school worsens once they go to college. Now, most of the people aren't just worried about grades, but money, social life, graduating, getting a job, etc. Slide. So it's apparent that students feel stress and pressure, but do they realize it can hurt them? As you can see on this chart, the higher stress level you have, the more it affects you. Mentally, you will feel anxiety and depression, and physically, you will feel exhaustion and pain. Slide. I conducted a survey in a class of 22 STEM majors. I asked 4 questions about how they cope with their stress. If academic pressure caused an increase in alcohol/drug use, depression, exhaustion, and anxiety. As you can see, in every case, there was an increase. Increase in alcohol and drug use and exhaustion are 2 examples of negative effects stress can physically have on students' health. An increase in depression and anxiety and mental stress examples. A survey that Laura Womble from North Carolina University conducted also showed similar results. Slide. Fortunately, with some practice, students can reduce their stress in healthy ways. According to Burrows, there are many ways to cope with stress. The best way is to start with eliminating the stress that you can, then reducing any stress that you can, and finally coping with the stress that you can't eliminate or reduce. The healthiest way to cope with stress is by organizing, making time, being in a positive environment, and dealing with money issues. I know it's easier said than done, but in the long run, these steps will help you physically and mentally. Stay organized and you will feel stressed less and fast. Make time for the really important things like schoolwork. This may mean eliminating small things like watching less TV. Surround yourself with people in your situation. Fellow students can help you cope because they know how it feels. And make sure to spend your money wisely. Don't buy that new shirt you want, but instead, save the money. It'll come in handy when the bills are due. Slide. In conclusion, I hope all the students out there realize what kind of toll their stress is taking on them. It's not healthy for you, so instead of stressing, just relax. Steve Maraboli once said, "I promise you nothing is as chaotic as it seems. Nothing is worth diminishing your health. Nothing is worth poisoning yourself into stress, anxiety, and fear." So with that, I would like to thank you for listening and have a stress-free day. And this is my audience.